The Awakening of the Chosen.
Welcome everyone to the Awakening of the Chosen channel. I'm Gabriel, Chosen One. Today is the day you'll be reminded of your true worth. In the next few minutes of knowledge, I will reveal something that will stir your soul, something you need to hear right now. What you carry is not ordinary. It is rare, powerful, and unique. But the world, blinded by mediocrity, has tried to hide this from you. They don't want you to know that you are the finest wine, the one that has been crushed, endured darkness, and is now ready to be served. Get ready to uncover why your journey up until now has not been in vain, and how the weight you've carried was not a burden, but the mold of your greatness. This is the moment to connect with your essence, to understand that the universe has chosen you for something greater. Are you ready to feel the transformation? Then stay with me until the end, because what is about to be revealed might change the way you see your own life. Being selected is a calling that comes with honor and accountability. It serves as a reminder that not everyone in the world can appreciate something that has been honed by hardship. Being selected is not an easy route. Rather, it is a path filled with obstacles and loneliness that mold you into who you are. You don't need to defend yourself to those who lack the depth to comprehend you, just as the most costly wine doesn't need for validation or attempt to establish its value. Its greatest richness is in its essence, which has been molded by crushing and refining. People are often forced to adapt and change who they are in order to conform to socially enforced norms. However, getting selected entails bucking such pressure. Clarity, not haughtiness, is the issue here. Clarity around your identity and mission. It is quite true that not everyone will be able to understand its core. It is not your responsibility to persuade those who lack moral insight. Because of this, it is impossible to gauge your trip using traditional metrics. Your individuality will be celebrated by those who actually notice and care about you. People often just perceive the glitz and glamour of accomplishment. The cost that was paid in the shadows is disregarded by them. They are unaware of the struggles, sacrifices, and lonely evenings that led to what they now consider to be something amazing. Others cannot even begin to comprehend the weight that the chosen one bears. This weight may first seem to be a burden, but with time and the correct mindset, it may become a crown. This change does not happen on its own. It takes fortitude, bravery, and most importantly, sincerity. In a society that prizes conformity, being the exception can be both a struggle and a blessing. There is no need for justifications or excuses if you begin to accept your individuality. Its essence and mere existence are self-evident. Those who are really important will see the worth and appreciate it without any explanation. Regarding others, it is not your duty to explain things to them. Realizing that your energy should be focused on your mission rather than attempting to get approval or be accepted is liberating. Being great doesn't hide, but it also doesn't shout. It shows up as an unavoidable fact in a natural way. Being selected entails having a brilliance that endures despite efforts by the outside world to dampen it. Your biggest power is your genuineness, which cannot be compromised. You may achieve a degree of freedom and purpose that surpasses affirmation and opinions from others when you give up trying to fit in and begin living entirely in the power of who you are. This is the reason your trip is so potent and life-changing. Above all, this path of being selected is a path of self-discovery. It's about realizing that challenges are instruments for improvement rather than penalties. Every quiet struggle, every lonely moment, and every tear shed in the dark was a part of a bigger process that was meant to show you who you really are. Even if the outside world may not witness what goes on behind the scenes, you were molded there, out of sight. You too required time, pressure, and metamorphosis to become something special, just as the best wine takes years to attain its perfection. The fact that you don't have to plead for approval is the most liberating aspect of being selected. People who are on the same frequency as you will be drawn to you since your essence is already sufficient. A trap that saps your energy and takes you away from your goal is trying to satisfy everyone. After all, not everyone has the capacity to appreciate the sublime, the uncommon, and the one-of-a-kind, and it's their restriction, not your fault. Your goal is to just be yourself and true to who you are and what you stand for, not to persuade or please. In a society that is afraid of difference, there may be tremendous pressure to fit in. However, individuals who are called to something more will never follow the road of conformity. Accepting that you are not here to fit the mold is a prerequisite for being selected. You are the exception that breaks the norms and the real-life proof that excellence stems from honesty rather than conformity. You may release yourself from the burden of outside approval. Thanks to this realization, your path, your nature, and your purpose are sufficient to justify your existence. What other people believe or anticipate does not define you. It's crucial to keep in mind that getting selected is also a service. Your distinctiveness is meant to inspire, motivate, and alter those who can see it, not merely to be praised. You are meant to serve as a beacon for those who are looking for something more profound and genuine, not for those who are sidetracked by the lights of the world. They are drawn to your authenticity because you unquestionably live your truth, not because you brag about how important you are. People who matter and have the depth to value your uniqueness are drawn to you because of this. This voyage is a building at every level. Every hardship, every triumph, and every setback help to shape who you are now. The best part about this is that you don't need justifications. People who really get it don't need words, they sense it. Furthermore, no amount of explanation will be sufficient for people who do not comprehend. Knowing that the value you provide is indisputable, your goal is to keep developing, maturing, and being loyal to who you are. Living completely in the strength and reality of your destiny is what it means to be chosen. Living as a chosen one means realizing that the honesty with which you embody your essence determines the worth of your life, not the opinions of others. The world is always trying to shape you into something more comfortable for other people, and it's difficult to refuse, but it's what makes you stronger. You get closer to the reality of who you are every time you decide not to compromise, and every time you embrace your individuality. There is no need to prove this reality. It just is, and those who have eyes to see will perceive it. People who really appreciate you will be drawn to your energy, not because of the flawlessness you portray, but because of the depth you possess. What leaves a lasting impression is the culmination of your experiences, obstacles, and triumphs. One liberating lesson is that you are not here to be understood by everyone. You may let your natural radiance do the talking by letting go of the desire to appease or explain, and that's plenty since your existence is already a response to those who really matter. Being selected has the greatest impact because it eliminates the need for self-justification or competition. You stand out only because of the uniqueness of your experience. You shouldn't worry about comparisons, just as the best wine doesn't. You have been called to something more, something that goes beyond validation and other material considerations. Knowing this makes it clear that your goal is only to exist. Make an impression on those who are really prepared to accept what you have to give by being genuine, firm, and a force to be reckoned with. The wonderful thing about being selected is that the world adapts to you rather than you adapting to it. You are not accountable to those who are unable to comprehend or accept this. Your energy is too valuable to be squandered on those who aren't prepared for it. This is wisdom, not conceit. Spiritual maturity is the ability to choose where to devote your time and your essence, and you have the choice to do so. Your light was intended to brighten those who can appreciate it, not to be dispersed carelessly. Being simply another one is not why you are here. You were selected to be a lighthouse in a society that often favors the cozy gloom of mediocrity. Your story is so strong because of your sincerity and individuality. The best part of it all is that when you live your truth, you encourage others to follow suit. Simply being yourself, without uttering a single word, serves as a reminder to the world that authenticity is what really matters and that there is no need to fit in. Living with confidence, purpose, and the knowledge that you are precisely who you were destined to be is the essence of being chosen. The process of being selected might first seem like a condemnation. You bear mental, emotional, and spiritual burdens in addition to your bodily ones. It feels like the world is always pushing the boundaries of your willpower and placing you in dire circumstances from which there seems to be no escape. The inquiries never end, and there's a strong sense of loneliness. Why me? Why does it seem like I live in a harsher world than others? Why do I feel so alone and misinterpreted? Because the Chosen One's journey was never intended to be simple. These sentiments are typical of individuals who are carrying something unique. Few people understand the cost of maintaining it, even if many appreciate its external luster. They are blind to the restless nights, the intense times of uncertainty, or the ongoing conflict between their true selves and the demands of the outside world. Since your message is too huge and audacious for everyone to understand, rejection is all but unavoidable. When those who don't get your path attempt to minimize or silence you, it is betrayal. You will always be alone, yet it is in solitude that you discover your greatest power. When you resolve to stop resisting the process, transformation starts. What should have crushed you is instead shaping you into something the world has never seen before, you realize. Once seen as a punishment, isolation really serves as a chance to boost your self-esteem. Once painful, rejection now hardens and makes your soul unbreakable. Furthermore, failures that at one point looked intolerable eliminate all that is not necessary, and just what is important remains. The way the Chosen Ones choose to handle difficulties is what sets them apart from others, not the fact that they don't confront difficulties. Not only have you persevered through your hardships, but you have also become stronger, smarter, and better equipped. His character was shaped by the seemingly insurmountable strain. You had to go through all of these steps to become who you are. Just as the finest wine must be crushed, squeezed, and aged in the dark to achieve its excellence. Over time, what first seemed to be a curse turns out to be a higher calling. The weight you bear is a crown, a representation of your fortitude and purpose rather than a burden. Being selected entails acknowledging that your path will be distinct, replete with highs and lows that will test your self-perception. However, it is exactly in this uniqueness that you discover your power. The universe doesn't choose weak people. Instead, he picks those who can turn the impossible into reality, suffering into strength, and darkness into light. You are a real example of how the greatest rewards may arise from even the most difficult hardships. The path of the Chosen One changes when they convert this curse into a weapon. At that point, you understand that the events that were meant to shatter you have, in fact, made you into something much more. Every rejection strengthened your determination, every betrayal taught you to have faith in yourself, and every time you were alone, you became closer to your true self. These encounters were essential. They weren't coincidental. They have developed an inner strength and resilience that are impervious to outside influences. The process of change takes time to complete. It is gradual, often difficult, and involves confronting hard self-truths. In its wisdom, the cosmos saw that you had to be polished before you could wear this crown. To become the strongest and most genuine version of yourself, you had to be put to the test, damaged, and then rebuilt. At this point, you begin to see your path as the basis for your greatness rather than as a burden. Once feeling like a prison, isolation turns into a place where you may discover clarity. Once an open wound, rejection becomes armor that shields you from approval from others. Failures no longer indicate weakness, but rather demonstrate your bravery in trying new things, taking chances, and developing. These encounters do not characterize him as a victim, but rather as a fighter who keeps going, despite the uncertainty and darkness of the road. You come to recognize that what seemed to be a curse was really a preparation as you accept your trip. Your impact capability is directly correlated with the weight you carry. The universe doesn't choose the most straightforward or well-prepared. Instead, he picks those who have the capacity to transform their suffering into strength, their failures into teaching moments, and their life experiences into something that may motivate others. You are unique and distinct from other people because of it. Something significant occurs when you quit fighting your path. You turn what may have been a burden into an endless source of power. You come to see that your mission is not diminished by the fact that the outside world may not comprehend your journey. Being understood by everyone or fitting in is not your goal. You are here to serve as a live example of change and a testament to the fact that even the most difficult situations can be turned into opportunities for amazing achievement. This insight transforms everything. What used to seem like an insurmountable burden has now turned into your greatest asset. The way you see your experiences changes from something that occurred to you to something that happened to you. The universe picked you because it knew you were resilient enough to make it through the voyage, and more importantly, to come out stronger than before. Your path becomes an inspiration to others who are still learning to bear their own responsibilities. Your tale becomes a weapon, and your sorrow becomes strength. You not only endure the strain after that, but you become an expert at it. You start to see how everything you've experienced, every rejection, betrayal, and lonely moment, has shaped you into something indestructible like a keen blade. In addition to being robust, you realize that these difficulties were really preparations rather than punishments. On a simpler route, you would never have discovered the abilities, capabilities, and degrees of self-awareness that they forced you to uncover. This metamorphosis goes beyond you. It is not only personal. You encourage people to see their own struggles in a new light. By bearing your path with courage and dignity, you turn into a real-life illustration of how hardship may serve as motivation for greatness. Her experience serves as a reminder that pressure is a tool that brings out the best and most resilient qualities in us, not simply a test. Your interaction with the outside world dramatically alters when you adopt this perspective. You realize that your path has inherent significance and cease looking to others for validation. You recognize that attempting to persuade others who aren't ready to comprehend is a waste of your precious energy. You get a new feeling of freedom when you learn to distinguish between those who appreciate you and others who just lack the ability to do so. By turning the alleged curse into a weapon, you take control of your life story. What occurred to you no longer defines you. Rather, what you did with it does. Your strength lies in your capacity to turn hardships into opportunities, loss into knowledge, and suffering into strength. That's when you understand that the chosen one's path was always about thriving in the face of hardship, rather than just surviving. He is a powerful force because of this metamorphosis. You are utilizing your experience as a tool to clear the path and rethink what is possible, rather than lugging it around like a burden. And that's what sets the selected apart from the others. It is the capacity to utilize every experience to develop, change, and become something amazing, rather than the lack of suffering or difficulties. Now, the weight you bear is a sign of your triumph, rather than just a reminder of your hardships. It stands for everything that you have been and all that you have conquered. Most importantly, it sends a message to the world that those who are selected not only survive but also transcend, that suffering may be transformed into strength, and that darkness can give way to light. You are a real example of how what seemed to be your downfall has instead served as the basis for your brilliance. Finally, this is more than simply a crown you wear. It is a legacy you leave behind, demonstrating to others what is possible when you truly accept your destiny. Excellence is a strong declaration of presence rather than a kind welcome. When you are carrying quality, it comes as a force that demands room rather than as something timid or hesitant. She defies established norms rather than fitting into them. She has an impression just by being there, therefore she doesn't wait to be recognized. Furthermore, being one of the selected is not a choice. It is a fundamental aspect of who you are. Not only does your presence attract notice, but it also transforms the surroundings. There is an allure to excellence that transcends language. It makes individuals examine themselves, consider their boundaries, and rethink their ideas of what is feasible. However, there is some opposition to this approach. Excellence is often seen as a danger by those who have become comfortable in their surroundings. It reveals mediocrity as an unavoidable consequence rather than on purpose. You act as a mirror, reflecting not just what is feasible, but also what they haven't got the guts to go for yet. Many people may find this kind of influence unpleasant, but you shouldn't bear it as a burden. For the sake of other people's comfort, you are not here to dim your brilliance or dull your brightness. People that question the existing quo and encourage others to set higher goals are needed in the world. And you automatically accomplish this because of your awesomeness. Leading with your individuality is more important than competing with others. You are here to create your own table, not to compete for a spot at the table. Achieving greatness is not something that just occurs. It is the outcome of selflessness, tough decisions, and a resolve that perseveres through the most trying times. What you carry now is built on the lonely evenings, the silent struggles, and the dangers that few would dare to take. And now that labor is reflected in your presence, you don't need praise or approval since its influence is self-evident. There will be criticism and efforts to downplay your significance, but these voices are inconsequential when compared to the true genius of your own being. Excellence is property, not conceit. It's realizing that the area you inhabit has been conquered and that the light you bring has been molded by events that not many people would live through. You cease apologizing for your existence once you realize this. You come to understand that your trip has been about more than simply getting here. It has also been about the impression you will leave on whatever setting you enter. The world must adapt to the fact that your energy, your narrative, and your truth are non-negotiable. It is difficult to disregard its power. She is heard even if she doesn't yell. It is sensed even if it doesn't force. You cannot and should not conceal your brilliance, which is the outcome of all you have fought and conquered. She serves as a reminder to the world that excellence does exist and that those who possess that quality are here to reinvent what is possible rather than to blend in. And that redefinition starts the instant you walk in, busting down the door without asking permission, because you know you belong here and that it will make the world a better place. Understanding the force of greatness reveals that it is a transformative presence that encompasses much more than just outcomes. She elevates everything around her because her energy naturally encourages it, not because you ask her to. Even if they don't express it, others around you sense the change. Others may resist because they feel frightened by the light you bear, while others will attempt to level themselves with you. However, none of these responses alter the reality that you are there to do just that: ignite change, have an influence, and serve as the impetus for a shift that the world needs, but isn't necessarily prepared to accept. You don't carry this energy by chance. It was molded by the suffering, the struggle, and the inner conflicts that compelled him to develop. It just comes naturally to you. It's not something you flaunt to impress. Because it is independent of other influences, its perfection is an unavoidable strength. Its potency stems from its inherent qualities. You don't have to yell or prove anything. Your resilience, biography, and work are all live examples of who you are. Nevertheless, others may want to downplay your influence, not because you are undeserving, but rather because your presence compels them to face their own shortcomings. And it's all right. You're not here to make everyone understand you. Because it makes them face their shortcomings and complacencies, the light of perfection is too much for some people to handle. However, keep in mind that your light is an invitation rather than an assault. An exhortation to get up and perform better. People who comprehend this will support you. Another step in the process is leaving those who don't understand behind. There's no reason to compete. Since excellence functions on a totally separate frequency, it is never in competition. You are focused on developing, producing, and leaving a legacy, while others want approval. Excellence makes her imprint. She doesn't look for praise. It changes. She doesn't care about pleasing. That is your identity's strength. Because you have become unavoidable, rather than because you demand attention, your presence alters the atmosphere. The most potent quality of perfection is its independence. Realness is independent of acknowledgement. Your effect is only a continuation of the validation of who you are via your path. Knowing is more important than whether or not everyone can see or acknowledge what you do. You are aware of the cost you incurred, the work you did, and the bravery you shown in persevering when it would have been simpler to give up. And it's that understanding, that confidence, that sustains you despite opposition. People that reject mediocrity and don't settle for what is convenient or easy are needed in the world, and you are just that with your perfection. Greatness never hides, never apologizes, and never asks for permission. This is a live reminder. You are here to encourage those who have the guts to walk the same route, to demonstrate what is possible, and most importantly, to stay true to who you are. The world needs to feel the influence of your presence, regardless of the obstacles that must be overcome. And that's precisely what brilliance does. It raises the standard for everything. It questions seemingly indisputable rules, and it creates a road where none was. All around you. Entering a room involves more than simply taking up residence. It also involves using your energy to change the surroundings. It's something you are, not something you have to force. Its perfection is an uncontrollable force, and its influence is so great that even those who are resistant to change eventually come to acknowledge the arrival of something new. The opposition you encounter reflects the ease with which many people settle for mediocrity, because it takes guts, self-awareness, and work to rise. They choose the stability of a low standard. However, you're not here to win people over or make their lives simpler. Being a disruptor means challenging the status quo and pointing out what is possible. This is a position for those who know that brilliance is a duty and not a choice, not for those who are weak-minded. In addition to reclaiming space, breaking down barriers gives people a chance to glimpse what is possible. Their existence serves as tangible evidence that constraints are often fictitious, created by unquestioned assumptions. Just being true to yourself challenges them. And if this may annoy people who are confined to their comforts, it also motivates those who are prepared to take action. The remarkable quality of perfection is its genuineness. Because it is based on the reality of who you are and the efforts you have made to get here, it doesn't need approval from others. You don't have to explain your influence or defend your existence. Words are not as powerful as actions. Even while his legacy is still being built, there is already evidence that the work was worthwhile. And ultimately, who was changed by its light, rather than who attempted to fend it off, is what counts. As you go on this path, keep in mind that although perfection will always cost something, the benefits it offers the world are incalculable. It's about redefining what's possible and motivating others to do the same, not simply about accomplishing objectives or taking over areas. For those who are prepared to rise beyond mediocrity, your greatness serves as a light. Additionally, more doors will open, more hearts will be touched, and more lives will be influenced as long as you remain steadfast. The enduring legacy you leave behind will be used to gauge your influence, not only the emotions you get right away, and that legacy starts with every door you knock down, every room you remodel, and every person you come into contact with. You were designed for this, regardless of how strong the opposition is or how challenging the challenges are. Her magnificence is an unstoppable force that will change the world whether it is ready or not. Greatness is the outcome of a deliberate process that is often unpleasant but always required. It does not appear overnight or inadvertently. You were formed on a path that called for endurance, patience, and trust in something bigger. Just as the finest wine takes time to mature, you are being developed, refined, and ready for a purpose few could fathom at this period, even if it felt like the world was moving on. The waiting seasons were times of building rather than of stagnation. Every shut door, every impassable barrier, and every doubtful moment was like the pressure and heat required to transform coal into diamond. These challenges were crucial components of the refining process, even if they could have first been seen as delays. You were getting ready for something that would have a lasting influence and depth, while others were searching for short-term, surface-level outcomes. You get smarter as well as stronger as a result of this process, which is its beauty. You became better at getting back up gracefully after every fall. You discovered fresh methods to encourage oneself after every rejection. Additionally, you developed your character with every obstacle you surmounted, giving it depth that many may sense but few can really comprehend. You stand out from the crowd because of this depth, which you have developed with perseverance and patience. Not only are you skilled at what you do, but you also possess a multitude of experiences and a genuineness that set you apart. You no longer feel the need to run or prove anything to anybody when you come out of this process. You are aware that everything happens for a reason and that now is your time. Haste is for those who realize the worth of the work done on them but lack confidence in what they are carrying. Now every action you do is purposeful, safe, and grounded. Its presence speaks for itself. You don't have to compete to get attention or yell to be heard. The world may be fixated on quick wins and flimsy accomplishments, but you stand for something much more uncommon: depth. Furthermore, depth cannot be hurried. It takes patience, experience, and the ability to put up with things that others wouldn't. You're unique because of it. Its essence and influence will be felt for a long time, just as the greatest wine is enjoyed and remembered long after it is poured. Years of preparation have led to the moment you are experiencing now. It is not a coincidence. The most amazing thing is that every event, no matter how positive or negative, simple or complex, helped create this moment. You have a narrative to tell, a presence to be felt, and a legacy to leave behind because of the path that has molded who you are. He needs your depth. The world doesn't need any more hurry. Finally, it's time to reveal to the world what has been painstakingly grown. Knowing that all you went through wasn't in vain is very powerful when you approach this moment of fulfillment. Every obstacle surmounted, every silent moment of support, and every tear shed has contributed to something bigger, molding you into something that cannot be duplicated or replaced. You have the scars of your trip, which are not indications of weakness but rather of power, tenacity, and change. Much as the most exquisite wine bears the markings of maturing, this maturity comes with a sense of calm. Every step you made here was at the proper speed, so you know you don't need to rush. Seeking approval or attempting to impress does not cause anxiety. Its core is self-explanatory. While people without discernment would never comprehend, those with it will sense their depth. And that's okay, because not everyone was meant to go with you. It was created for those who can appreciate the worth of unique and genuine things. The culmination of all you have experienced is what makes you so unique right now. Every setback was a lesson that deepened its character rather than a loss. Every delay served as a necessary pause for the growth of something bigger rather than a barrier. You have matured in knowledge as well as in time. This depth can only be attained by those who allow themselves to go through the process. It cannot be taught or purchased. There are many quick and shallow success tales in the world, but yours is unique. Its past is one of progress, honesty, and opposition. It is about a consistent and enduring presence rather than fleeting bursts of splendor, and that's why it's so important. You stand for what is enduring, real, and important in a society that is fixated on the transient. You don't need to defend or explain yourself now that you're in your place. You are aware of what you are carrying, its expense and its purpose. The influence of the refinement you have made will be felt for a very long time to come. Yet it cannot be assessed by the present alone. Your presence and influence will be profoundly felt, lasting long after you are gone. Just as the finest wine is carefully enjoyed, you are ready for this. You have been molded for it. The riches that has been developed in you is now at last available to the world. This is not the conclusion of your journey. Rather, it is the start of a new stage in which your authenticity, maturity, and knowledge will have the capacity to change not only your life, but also the lives of others fortunate enough to come into contact with you. The moment has arrived for you to shine like never before, because you are a masterpiece that has been refined by time and hardship. Not everyone is able to appreciate things that are uncommon, special, and profoundly meaningful. Like the finest wine, its essence was developed through patience, time, and a refining process that few people really comprehend. As a result, it shouldn't be distributed carelessly. It's like pouring something valuable into a container that wasn't made to hold it when you give your time, effort, or presence to those who can't appreciate them. Being selected is understanding to whom your presence should be destined, not that you are available to everyone. Those that lack depth often attempt to downplay or undervalue who you are. This is a restriction of theirs, not your fault. Not everyone have the insight or maturity to comprehend anything amazing, and it's all right. You have no right to instruct or persuade people. It is your duty to safeguard the things you have worked so hard to create, giving your best self to only those who can and will really appreciate it. Selectivity is a matter of dignity, not conceit. It is to pay tribute to the labor, the struggles, and the changes that led to this point. It's to respect the time you spent developing into the person you are now. Your worth is diminished, and worse, may eventually run out if you let anybody use what you have to give. You have the right, indeed the obligation to make prudent use of your limited and valuable energy. Information is disrespectful to share information with others who are not prepared or willing to accept it appropriately. Being choosy has the advantage of letting you be with people who really elevate you. These are the folks that appreciate your individuality, look above your outward appearance, and comprehend the depth of your feelings. They are inspired by you and acknowledge the influence you have on your life, but they don't attempt to mold or control it. Their energy is increased rather than squandered with these individuals. They are ideal for holding the value you provide. It takes purpose to protect your brilliance, not exclusion. It all comes down to focusing your light where it can have the most impact. Don't feel bad about setting boundaries or demanding respect for your identity and path. Its essence should only be shared with those who possess the depth to comprehend it, just as the rarest wine is meant exclusively for those who know how to enjoy it. This does not lessen its generosity. On the contrary, it increases the significance of its effect. Because of this exclusivity, you are much more precious. That's precisely the point. It's not for everyone. You are unique in your light, your energy, and your mission. You are a transformative presence because of this uniqueness. There are many people in the world who want what you have, but very few possess the courage, insight, or understanding to fully value it. And it's okay. Being genuine, preserving your essence, and sharing it with the people who really matter are your goals, not trying to satisfy everyone. If necessary, let others watch from a distance. Never attempt to win them over, persuade them, or provide an explanation. Anyone who is on your path and is for you will see your worth with ease, and you will be a presence that elevates and changes for them. Your light may act as a reminder to the others that when they're ready, something greater and more profound is waiting for them. Since not everyone deserves to see what you have to give, your top focus in the meantime should be to respect who you are and what you stand for. It is a sign of wisdom and self-respect to protect what you value most. This shouldn't be given lightly since you have invested time, effort, and passion to get here. You should preserve your essence and only share it to those who really respect it, just as the finest wine isn't presented to everyone or on any occasion. Its radiance is not diminished by this care, rather it is enhanced, making sure that its light reaches those who are ready to receive it. People who are unable to see or value what you often have to give tend to transfer your own fears, attempting to downplay your excellence in order to feel more at ease. However, you should not carry this. Its worth is independent of other people's perceptions of it. Nothing that someone says or does can take away from the fact that your journey, scars, and change are clear proof of what you have accomplished. In addition to being a self-preservation strategy, choosing carefully who has access to their energy is also a charitable gesture. You make a bigger and more lasting impression when you decide to share your essence with others who can really appreciate it. Because you are surrounded by individuals who are eager to develop with you, rather than those who want to take away or diminish who you are, you inspire, uplift, and change. You may also preserve spiritual and emotional energy by using this discernment. Just as not every table deserves the finest wine, not every room is worthy of being there. You may avoid exhausting yourself attempting to satisfy people who aren't meant for you by knowing where to focus your time and energy. This is a method of respecting your path and safeguarding your accomplishments. It is not selfishness. You become aware that your energy is increased as you begin to live with this aim. You become a beacon for the people who are really important, rather than getting lost trying to satisfy everyone. Because it is aimed at those who can identify it and utilize it as motivation for their own travels, its light shines brighter. You are here to make a profound effect on those who have eyes to see and hearts to feel, not to appease the pasta. What makes it memorable is the uniqueness of what you bring to the table, and this is something to embrace rather than apologize for. Its essence should be handled with the same care that the finest wine is saved for exceptional occasions and lovers who appreciate its complexity. Its power lies in its uniqueness, and safeguarding it is both a duty and a privilege. Ultimately, you come to the realization that you are surrounded by people who really notice you, rather than distancing yourself from others. And this is the difference between just existing and really leading a purposeful life. Not everyone is prepared to demonstrate that you have been honed for something greater, but for those who are, being there will be a life-changing event and a gift they will always cherish. You respect your path, your essence, and the special influence you were meant to have in this way. A crucial component of the change process is pressure. Though sometimes misinterpreted, it is a strong ally rather than an adversary to be feared. It is what distinguishes the commonplace from the remarkable, the temporary from the permanent. Its magnificence could not be shown without moments when the burden of life felt too great, just as a grape cannot be turned into wine without being crushed. The catalysts that exposed their most potent and pure nature were the suffering, the difficulty, and the uncertainty. Every obstacle you encountered was like a press, drawing out the best in you. Adversity causes the outer layers to peel away, revealing the unshakable core of your true self. Even when everything appears to be working against you, the pressure is a process of refinement and proof, not a punishment. She finds forces you didn't know you possessed by testing her strength, limits, and perspectives. You find tenacity that is not just impressive but unbreakable in these situations. Being under pressure does not imply failure. Instead, it's an indication that you're getting ready for something more significant. Finding meaning in the pressure is more important than denying its existence or ignoring the pain it causes. Every challenge you overcame helped you develop in ways that the struggle alone could, pushing you above your imagined boundaries. His inner strength has been shaped by his decisions to resist rather than back down, and to keep going rather than give up. The pressure's beauty lies in its ability to highlight what is most important. Similar to how crushing wine removes the juice from the shell, life's struggles have separated your actual self from your surface self. After every battle, depth rather than simply survival is what's left. Your presence is so strong and your influence so enduring because of its depth. You are a live example of how hardship can lead to great things, not merely a reflection of your successes. One cannot easily learn the lesson that pressure teaches. It calls for perseverance, delivery, and the guts to confront what feels intolerable. In the end, however, it does more than just mold you. It makes you into something that the outside world cannot ignore. His past, wounds, and accomplishments are evidence of a path few would dare to take, and for that same reason, you are an unstoppable force. You now come out stronger, clearer, and with more purpose than before. She molded him. The strain did not shatter it. She brought out the best in you and set it up for an effect that is incalculable and beyond words. Similar to how the finest wine is praised for its depth and complexity, its journey serves as evidence that the most trying times can also be the most transforming. And because of this metamorphosis, you become more than simply a survivor. You become an incredible creative. It is an expression of the path that led you to this point. It's more about who you are than what you say or do on purpose. It always fits when you go into a setting. Its energy bears a weight that cannot be ignored, not because it is imposed or coerced. The air seemed to shift, as if space realized that something important had just arrived. You are causing this transformation just by being genuine, not because you are seeking it. The way you take up space has a quiet power. Advertising and attention-seeking are unnecessary because your essence speaks before you even speak. This effect is the result of all of your victories, struggles, and lessons gained. The significance of your presence lies in depth rather than ostentation. It serves as a reminder to others that they have more to know about themselves. The dynamics surrounding you are changed by this kind of presence. Even without recognizing it, individuals start to hold themselves to higher standards when relationships take on more meaning and conversations become more purposeful. It's something you encourage rather than demand. Their quiet confidence allows them to explore their own potential, and their genuineness encourages others to connect with theirs. It is a long-lasting effect that occurs spontaneously and without deliberate effort. Her independence from outside acceptance is what makes her so beautiful. It doesn't rely on praise or acknowledgement. You already know who it is, and you don't need confirmation. What sets your energy apart from so many others is this genuine confidence. You do this with substance, while many people attempt to fill space with noise. Its profundity is what draws people in and changes them, fostering an atmosphere that inspires them to improve. Your brand stays with you even after you leave a location. It seems as if the energy you contributed is still reverberating, motivating others to think, feel, and behave differently. This long-lasting effect is the outcome of who you become and cannot be produced. Your presence today changes places and lives as a result of all you have been through, everything you have conquered, and everything you have chosen to be real. You are here to grow them, not merely to see the locations. Your enthusiasm serves as a reminder that both the world and individuals may improve. And this is something that is straightforward and transcends both words and deeds. You are a live example of how accepting who you are can have a profoundly transformative and unavoidable influence on the world. Since you are not good at competition, you are no longer in it. While many turn away, attempting to outdo others or get approval from others, you have discovered something even more potent: the confidence in your identity. It is in a situation where no comparison is possible because of this assurance. You are the destination, not the one being chased. It's an acknowledgement of the hard effort you put in to get here, not a sign of arrogance. You don't need to prove anything to anybody, just like the finest wine doesn't fit into typical bottles. Being the reference indicates that you are indifferent to other people's actions. You are concentrating on what really counts, being true to yourself, setting an example, and developing yourself. Those who attempt to compete with you are perplexed by this. They attempt to copy your actions, words, or accomplishments, but they don't realize that the real effect is in the depth of what you've created. Only the genuine experience, the outcrops, and the authenticity you have chosen to foster may provide this depth. Being the reference is limitless depending on the goal, while competition is restricted, depending on comparisons. Because your track is distinct, you don't care who is ahead of you or behind you. Not because you are unreachable, but rather because of the incomparable qualities you possess. Those who attempt to follow you are constantly one step behind you. His history, sincerity, and influence are so ingrained in his path that they are difficult to replicate. Being the standard involves more than simply success. It also entails setting the standard. You are more than just a presence. You are a benchmark that others, even unknowingly, use to gauge your worth. That's why you're unique. You don't have to constantly make claims or use gaudy tactics to prove your worth. It permeates everything you do, how you behave, the impression you make, and the changes it brings about in the world. This value is so clear that it redefines what is possible for people who see it, even if no effort is put forward. You are engaged, creating something that will endure, whereas many others are fixated on racing faster. This is the important thing. Many people may attain passing success, but the honesty and depth you convey last a lifetime. Because of this, it serves as an example for others, in addition to being an inspiring figure. They could attempt to imitate what they see, but they will never be able to match what you stand for, because what you have created transcends the visible. Its existence is a redefining of what is conceivable, not just a transient effect. You are here for a far bigger reason than to compete with others. You are here to set a new standard and demonstrate that looking inside rather than outside yields genuine power. And for that reason, even if others don't completely get it, it serves as a model and a reference. You are leading, not simply existing. And you are unquestionably a leader, not because you demand it, but because of who you are. You did not choose this reference position out of conceit. Rather, you earned it with hard effort, consistency, and genuineness. She is the outcome of a difficult but necessary trip that you took. He was molded into a person who went beyond the impulse to compete by every challenge he encountered, every sacrifice he made, and every courageous decision he took. You are a lighthouse because your light only directs, not because you want to be followed. You concentrate on being yourself, while others worry about seeming successful. This is the primary distinction between those who attempt to emulate you and those who are authentic. Competitors look for approval from others. You discovered it inside yourself, and that's the reason your energy is so special. It isn't created or coerced. It is genuine and firmly anchored in who you have grown into. Since no one else has taken the same route as you, nobody can replicate this. You cease gauging your success by what other people are doing when you are the reference. You are the measure of your own path. And that gives you the freedom to lead, invent, and create without worrying about anything. Since you are not competing, you are not attempting to outdo anybody. You are in an environment where your ability to develop, influence, and inspire others is all that counts. What sets it apart and makes it unmatched is its internal concentration. Since you are rooted within and others are oriented outside, those who attempt to mimic it will always be a step behind. They are unable to reproduce purpose, but they can imitate actions. They can never be you, even if they strive to look like you. This is just a fact. It is not anything you use against them. Its greatest strength, which cannot be duplicated, is its genuineness. It also entails duty to be in this reference place. You are motivated to be true to yourself since you know that others are observing and admiring your path. Being a living reminder that it is possible to live with bravery, sincerity, and purpose is more important than bearing the burden of other people's expectations. You just need to be authentic. You don't need to be flawless. And this alone has more power than any attempt to outdo or dazzle. Being the reference ultimately indicates that you are not living only for yourself. Others are motivated to discover their own skills, truths, and methods by his path. You're not here to compete or be a clone. To demonstrate that genuine excellence is not about getting there more quickly or gaining more recognition. You are here to be the standard. It all comes down to being true to who you are, profound and unwavering. And this alone is more than sufficient to reshape what is feasible for all those in its vicinity. So idealized, perfection often lacks spirit. It is controlled, formulaic, and ultimately forgettable. The failures, the times when masks come off and humanity is exposed, are what really unite people, motivate them, and change them. Your imperfections are what give your tale depth and color, not a deficiency in the way you are designed. These are the hallmarks of a journey that has been lived deeply, filled with brave decisions and obstacles that have been addressed without assurance of success. Every slip-up, every scar, every mistake you've made all contribute to a single story. They convey a tale of resiliency, education, and creativity. It is made accessible by these occasions rather than diminished. They demonstrate that you are not inaccessible, but rather someone who has confronted life head-on, fallen, gotten back up, and carried on even when the path seemed unclear. Its weakness is what makes it human, and humans are the ones that connect with it the most. Thus, it is in this realization that its power endures. The most genuine aspects of who you are would be lost if you tried to mask your imperfections. They are the details that give a rare wine its memorable qualities, much as the unexpected notes. Every setback serves as a reminder that you survived, that you had courage, and that you decided to take a chance rather than make accommodations. They provide their trip nuance and genuineness. It takes guts to accept this, as it defies the need to seem flawless, which often stifles our true selves. Empty idealizations are no longer necessary for the world. He needs real-life examples of individuals who aren't afraid to disclose their flaws and encourage others to do the same. You should embrace your imperfections rather than try to hide or fix them. They serve as evidence of the distance you have already covered and the obstacles you have surmounted. It is said that you not only lived, but lived with meaning, overcoming hardship to become stronger over time. By embracing your imperfections, you are acknowledging them as an essential component of your identity rather than succumbing to them. Their talents and shortcomings come together to create something really remarkable, similar to how the finest wine embraces its complexity rather than aiming for homogeneity. Its journey is full of subtleties that need recognition. These subtleties are what give it its unique character, foster sincere bonds, and have a profound effect on everyone who has the honor of knowing it. Because its history is authentic, it is a masterpiece. It is distinctive because to its bends, deviations, and twists rather than its absolutely straight lines. And that's precisely what gives it its potency. You discover an unstoppable power when you stop battling your imperfections and start to accept them as a necessary component of who you are, because you are genuine, not because you are flawless. And it's this genuineness that makes an impression, not just now, but forever. By accepting your imperfections, you turn what formerly seemed to be a burden into a source of power. Instead of being something to conceal, these flaws, like battle scars that demonstrate that you battled and matured, become indicators of their sincerity. They keep in mind that while real life is profoundly meaningful, it is not flawless. Because they share your imperfections and look for a human mirror in others, people are drawn to you because of your honesty. A deeper tale is told by failures than by perfection. They reflect the challenging paths you've taken, the times you had to change who you are, and the courageous decisions you took while knowing they could be flawed. They serve as a reminder that, rather than avoiding danger out of concern that you might seem flawed, you have chosen to attempt, fail, and learn. This bravery is admirable as it is uncommon, and calls for an inner strength that many people are still working to develop. Because it seems secure, regulated, and predictable, the world often aspires to perfection. However, this regularity is exactly what renders it lifeless and sterile. Their imperfections, on the other hand, provide complexity, subtleties, and surprises that make for an engaging tale. By being open and honest about your flaws, you encourage others to follow suit. This fosters an environment where showing vulnerability is seen as a sign of bravery and strength rather than weakness. Being memorable is about being human, not about being flawless. It's about demonstrating your ability to be both powerful and vulnerable at the same time, to fail and yet go on. This mix is what produces a presence that really connects with people. You are real, not because you are inaccessible. This evokes optimism in addition to appreciation. I hope that despite our imperfections, we may still be exceptional. You may also release yourself from the burden of striving to be flawless for other people by embracing your imperfections. You understand that honesty, not perfection, is what really connects people. People remember those who had the guts to be real, even when it was challenging, rather than those who seemed to have everything under control. Because you had the guts to share your struggles, people recall who gave them hope that they weren't fighting their battles alone. His flaws ultimately define him more fully rather than diminishing him. They should be celebrated as a part of a worthwhile tale, not something to conceal or fix. Its essence is shaped by every mistake, every lesson learned, and every moment of triumph, just as the finest wine has distinct nuances that are impossible to replicate. And it is memorable because of it. You are eventually, without a doubt, real, not because you are flawless. Since true power is intuitive, it doesn't need to be declared. In addition to being a timeless classic, his presence has a depth that is inexplicable. There is a noticeable shift when you enter a location, whether it be emotional or physical. It occurs because your energy cannot be ignored. It is not something you actively seek out. It is the outcome of a genuine journey filled with lessons learned and problems that are out of date. The influence you exert extends beyond the things you say and do. It is more powerful but also bigger and more subdued. In ways they often cannot articulate, their soul affects others around them. You create an environment where people feel good, where collective energy is converted, and where change seems conceivable. He is an organic product of who you are, what you have experienced, and the strength you have developed. This influence cannot be produced. You cannot be removed, no matter how much people attempt to turn away, downplay, or disregard your effect. Relevance does not need effort to be acknowledged, just as the greatest wine does not require a gaudy label to be appreciated. Those that are able to recognize and comprehend the worth you contribute will feel it. Those who are unable to see this do not lessen your brilliance. Rather, they demonstrate that they are not yet prepared to comprehend the breadth of what you stand for. Its genuineness and constancy are its strongest points. Your influence is determined by quality rather than quantity, so you don't need to go everywhere or win over everyone. You create deep relationships, occupy lofty places, and alter those who come into contact with you. This metamorphosis is your signature and lasts long after you are physically there. Being so genuine to oneself that nothing can stop it is what it means to be unstoppable, not having too much control or domain. Its power originates within, and this power cannot be compromised. It is the kind of power that is felt even when it is not spoken. Others are impacted by its essence, which causes changes, encourages progress, and serves as a reminder that greater things are attainable. You don't have to look for attention or try to be noticed. Your sincerity, character, and path already accomplish this for you. Those who are ready will be moved, those who don't yet understand will have a chance to learn, and those who matter will comprehend. It's a gift. Your attendance is not necessary, a gift that redefines what is possible, inspires and changes, and brings movement where there was previously none. Your signature is your energy, and it's obvious. Nothing can take away what is robust and real, no matter how much the world tries to slow you down, quiet you, or distract you. Knowing that you will be missed wherever you go, even if no one recognizes you right away, is what it means to be unstoppable. It's realizing that your influence is profound and enduring as it stems from a sincerity that is impossible to copy or overlook. This is your own power. You possess a power that goes beyond the present. It is independent of a particular situation or other people's approval. Your inherent energy is a manifestation of your life experiences and the fortitude you have developed. Your presence causes the environment around you to adapt, even when you are silent and don't make any significant motions. Because it originates from an unwavering essence rather than a flimsy endeavor, it is something that cannot be rejected or undervalued. Being unstoppable has the effect of making you difficult to ignore, even if you don't want to attract attention. The finest wine changes. The experience of people who taste it, not begging for attention. Similarly, individuals fortunate enough to be in your presence are profoundly affected by your energy, which does not demand acknowledgement. It's something you are, not something you have to force. It is genuine, enduring, and very potent. You understand that you don't have to battle for significance or compete for space when you live with this power. You are now the center of equilibrium wherever you go, a force that both confronts and harmonizes. People are inspired to elevate their own standards by your very presence, not because you ask them to, but rather because your genuineness encourages them to consider their own potential. You provide as a live example that hardship can be overcome, and obstacles can be turned into opportunities for growth. This power comes with accountability as well. Being aware of how your energy affects other people inspires you to live intentionally and to remain loyal to your core self. You are making impressions that are profound and enduring. You are not only moving through spaces or engaging in surface-level interactions. And for this to happen, you need to be clear about your identity and values. Being unstoppable does not imply being always moving or striving for accomplishments from outside sources. Because of its foundation in genuineness, it is a condition of being an uncontrollable presence. Even after you leave a place, the impression you left is still there. It resonates in the discussions, introspection, and transformations sparked by his presence. In addition to experiencing your own trip, you are unavoidably changing the paths of those fortunate enough to encounter it. This embodies the concept of being unstoppable. Authenticity and depth are more important than speed or quantity. It's about living in a manner that makes everything and everyone around you better just by being there. It's about becoming a change agent and a real-life illustration of how inner power originates from inside. Even if the world tries to ignore or oppose you, the influence of who you are will always be there.